Shan Booty explains why beautiful women struggle with dating.
What
is that now?
I was getting ghosted. I wasn't finding joy in that. And so I started studying pickup artistry and seduction and influence and connection. And that transformed my life in every way. And I thought, how do I package all these great books into an interesting read?
Like, I think it's quite fascinating, just even you talking about struggles in dating, because you're obviously a very beautiful woman.
I guess a man's entitled to his opinion, huh? I mean, she kind of mid if you ask me, bro. Like, she's just light. That's, you know. Maybe I'm just being salty. I mean,
very intelligent.
Thank you.
Know? and so most people wouldn't assume that you would have some challenges. Like, what were some of the challenges that you were facing consistently?
I don't know if you guys are on Instagram. Every hot girl complains about dating. The hottest, like I said that about Brittany Rayner, whose book Judge's Cover came out. And I was like, this is such an affirmation. Like, if this woman has a ass like a coffee table and still has...
coffee tables.
You're supposed to say pause. You didn't say pause. Why didn't you say pause? You're supposed to say pause. Say pause!
I would say that like there's no face of what somebody who's a bad connector looks like. And that's what the art of seduction teaches you, is that there's 9 different ways to be highly seductive and to be great at connecting with others. Only one of those has to do with how you look. And looks is a depreciating asset. And there's a study that was done that's like there's no proof that people who date somebody who's hot have relationship satisfaction.
Yeah. Have you heard the study where it says it's actually like sometimes the more attractive you are, the more difficult it is for you to find somebody in a romantic relationship? Have you ever read that before?
I haven't, no.
Oh, it's quite fascinating.
I have a video on it. I don't know if I would have posted it by the time I post this one, where we're talking about why beautiful women tend to be single. And in it, I explained that because they're beautiful, they're gorgeous, most, if not all men want them, right? And because they know that they can get any man they want, whichever man that they have at that point, they'll be like, if he just like has like a small red flag, she'll be like, I can get someone who's not like that. Like, for example, if she doesn't like guys who play video games, right? She'll be like, I can find someone who doesn't play video games. And so just the list of red flags is just like astronomically long. It makes no sense. So I think because they are desired by most men, their standards are astronomically high, right? And so I think that may be a reason why they don't find satisfaction in their dating or relationships or whatever.
Yeah, I would say it is, but I mean, I was also a dick. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like,
elaborate.
Yeah, I've never gotten along with teachers my whole life. I'm a very disagreeable. I would say, like, someone actually said to me, because when I started, doing sex as a career.
What did he say? Oh my God! Oh my God!
That sounds like a prostitution.
You said
That's how my parents interpreted it, actually. But when I started, talking about sex as a career at like 19, 20 years old, my parents were so angry and upset with it and against it. My mom's reaction was so visceral, and I didn't give a fuck. And so a part of the reason I even have this career is because I'm a dick. I'm like, I don't care what anyone else thinks, I'm going to do it. But that's the thing too, is a lot of the qualities that we have, but to your point, that aid us in certain areas in life actually prevent us from being successful in others. And so that headstrong, I'm doing things my way, I don't care what anyone else thinks, this is who I am, take it or leave it, really helped to propel or start my career, but it was stopping me from making healthy romantic connections.
It's a masculine trait to be like stoic and like, what's the word I'm looking for? Steadfast, headstrong. It's I can't see now. It's a typically masculine trait, right? And if you're a woman and you have that characteristic, it will help you advance your career in terms of like in the corporate world, but it's not going to help you much in like a relationship, because
imagine shooting a man with your last bullet and he stands there
a masculine man is naturally looking for a feminine woman. And if a masculine man meets a masculine woman, it's like, this won't work. So that's my 2 cents on it.
So I had to acknowledge at one point that I'm like, the common denominator is you. You know, like every Subway sandwich you go to, you get in an argument. Every airplane you're on, every relationship you're in, like, and agreeableness is the number one trait which determines relationship longevity and success, or someone's ability, which we're told nice people finish last, but in truth, nice people stay in the race the longest.
If they stay in the race the longest, and that means that everyone else has finished, which is why they finish last.
So the traits that you saw, like what made you change? Or how did you start going through that process with some of the things that you did?
It's troubleshooting when you're like, oh, something's not working. And then you can do the troubleshooting what a lot of people do, where they're like, other. Men ain't shit. This person ain't shit. The world ain't shit. Dating ain't shit. You can do that for a while. And I did that for a while. And then eventually I was like, maybe that's true. Maybe dating is shit. Maybe it is hard. Maybe it is trash. But there are people who are doing well.
Yeah.
I can't deny that. There are people who have success in this area. I'm just not one of them. And if I want to be one of the successful people, I got to start paying attention to what they're doing that I'm not. And that's where books came into play, or just being an observer, being a listener and a learner, and being able to make important changes in my life and my own personality. And then I think that's when I had a massive shift.
W Shorty. You know, I don't want to say the world would be a better place, but men and women would get along so much more if they would just realize that they're each complicit in some regard to why they don't get along with the opposite gender. And it's conversations like these on these podcasts where it helps to have that conversation and to hear the other perspective. But, you know, most modern women, as they're called, they don't want that. It's either my way or the highway. So
What was the biggest thing that you changed that you felt like caused the most drastic shift in your life?
My disagreeableness, like I honestly would say, like I'm married now, and my number one advice for like a healthy marriage is like developing your shut the fuck up filter. Like there's so many times that I always want to voice my opinion or say how I would do things or give an alternate route. Like I'm just like always, and then if I just be quiet sometimes, and even if something it doesn't please me, you know, sometimes I want to correct right away. But if I just be quiet, one, sometimes it actually pans out even better than I thought it would. Or number two, it's like, let that person have the joy of having their vision come to fruition. Just like you want to assert your vision in this moment, like they also want that same feeling of knowing they did it their way. So like shutting up and like shutting down that voice in my head, which, you know, stopped me from being a good student, where I was always trying to one up the teacher or say how things could be better, but versus like, if I'm trusting you to partner with you, I actually have to trust you. So that I think was my biggest shift.
that's actually quite interesting. And I guess what I can add to that is by you keeping quiet, it's not admitting defeat or showing weakness. It's just, like she said, showing an appreciation for that person. They obviously reached that conclusion having thought rationally, right? If they're like a normal human being, right? And so it just shows a tremendous amount of respect to the other person and actually being considerate towards that person and showing love to that person, particularly if it's like your spouse or like your partner. That's very important in keeping the relationship stable. Not that I have, you know.
Do you guys have something like that for yourself that you recognize? Like,
Oh my gosh.
You don't even want to go down that road.
Trust me. I mean, man, for me, the biggest thing that I saw that, hold on, what are you asking me? I wanna make sure I
what
answer
was
right-
what
answer
was
right
the
for
trait that was blocking your own blessing?
Stop acting like a simp. That's the number one thing. Do not act like a simp. It gets you nowhere. Oh, no, it does get you somewhere. It gets you deep into the friend zone. Something I've talked about at length so many times. People who've watched my videos are probably sick of it now. But yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things. It's like don't be a simp. So yeah, basically women tend to have high standards which they aren't willing to compromise on, and it ends up hurting them more than it helps them. And sometimes women find it like really hard to like deal with nice guys or like nice people in general. I have a video on that topic, should be on the screen. You could like click on it and, you know, like subscribe.